Streaming to improve your confidence, picking the right game to get good at, and endless hours of practice. Here are 7 things you need to know before going pro. To ignore the rise of esports is to risk being washed away by a tidal wave of mainstream appeal. It's the fastest growing spectator sport on Earth, bringing the exhilarating world of video games to a broader audience. But what if you want to do more than just watch? What if you fancy the prize money and the prestige for yourself? Well, if you've ever looked at a pro gamer and thought, I bet I could do that, then this is the place to start. In this video, we'll be sharing some top tips from the players at the pinnacle of their game and offering up some realistic advice about the rigours of being an esports professional. But we also need to be frank with you. Nothing in this video is going to turn you into Skadoodle overnight. Instead, these are the things you need to consider before embarking on the long, hard road towards esports excellence. Here are 7 things you need to know if you want to go pro. It's a pretty obvious one to start with, but we have to get it out of the way early. You're going to have to practice a lot. As well as being naturally brilliant at games, the best players spend up to 10 hours a day training, which is why they're at the top of their game. If you're not prepared to dedicate this amount of time to getting good, it's best to step away now. Your natural reactions and talent will only get you so far. It takes a dedicated regime to take your game to the next level. But not just any practice will do. You can't just sit back, play and watch the hours rack up. No, you need to practice in the correct way, something we've actually talked about in another video, which you can watch by clicking the link above. Former Cloud9 support and coach Lemon Nation describes his days as wake up, scrim, solo queue, which is essentially going into a game alone and repeat. If that doesn't sound like your ideal working day, then it's really time to start considering a career plan B. Team Solo Mid's Bjergsen has spent thousands of hours playing League of Legends, and Wild Turtle has dedicated 3 years of his life to the game. Do your research, discover what the pros do, and make yourself a schedule. It might not sound fun, but the wrong kind of practice might be worse than no practice at all. But even before you've sat down to play your game, calibrated your mouse, and done your exercises, there's still something else you need to do first. Very few players, if any, can compete at the top level in multiple games. Some might have played different games during their careers. Cloud9's Skadoodle, for example, played League of Legends before moving to CSGO, but he quit the former because he didn't think it was going anywhere. The most important thing here is finding a game that clicks with your particular set of skills. Former Cloud9 rifler and full-time streamer Shroud got into FPS games when he was just 7 years old. The chances are you already know the right kind of game for you. You should also consider which role you're going to play before you make a hard choice. Skadoodle, for instance, didn't want to be an opper when he first started playing, but the role clicked with him, and he went on to win a major. Shop around and find titles that align most closely with the experiences you enjoy. You could also consider picking newer games, since you're less likely to be competing against players who already have thousands of hours of experience. And the good news is there's more choice than ever before. PUBG has gone from a relatively unknown early access game, for example, to a worldwide phenomenon. You may have heard of it. And there's even growth in the VR esports scene, thanks to games like Echo Arena. You're going to be playing a lot of whatever game you choose, so make sure it's something you love. It's natural to dream of bright lights, big games, and glamorous trophy ceremonies, but you've got to start small. Before you can even start thinking about the big tournaments, look for local competitions to improve your game. Now, this might sound counterintuitive if your goal is to travel the world, visit boot camps in Korea, and take part in televised events in front of screaming fans. But all esports begin locally. Small competitions will help you get used to playing in public, which to be honest requires a whole different frame of mind. Team Solo Mid's Bjergsen started off playing smaller tournaments for less money, before eventually realising he could make a career of it. And off the back of that, he was able to win a spot on TSM. His background proved just how much he wanted to succeed, despite never having had the chance to prove himself on the international stage. Each tournament you win is a step in the right direction, and naturally you'll ascend to bigger, more exclusive competitions. And of course, once you've got used to those screaming crowds and unfamiliar situations, then you can start thinking about that Logitech G sponsorship. Maybe. And our next tip is a doozy for getting used to playing in front of people. It's not quite the same as the rush of playing in front of thousands, but streaming your games can be an easy way of acclimatizing yourself to public gaming. It also helps make you more communicative, a crucial skill if you want to play as part of a team. It's common knowledge that Shroud started his career streaming on Twitch, which led to feedback from pro players encouraging him to take his hobby further. Without the streams, he might never have had the same success. On top of this, streaming can help build the confidence to communicate clearly, an essential skill in team games where quick, clear instructions can be the difference between winning and losing. Feedback is a massive part of this. If you're going to play professionally, you'll need to engage with your fans, ideally whether you win or lose. And whether it's participating on forums or playing with your friends, you can't practice in a vacuum. Hearing feedback from others and implementing it is a crucial skill, even if you don't always like what you hear. Once you're confident enough, give streaming a try, and be sure to let us know in the comments below if you do, if only so we can say we helped inspire the next Shroud. Now, this should go without saying, but we're going to say it anyway. If you're going to take this seriously, you need to get the right gear. I mean, you wouldn't run the 100-meter Olympic final in canoe boots, would you? Yeah, they're a thing. So why would you play CSGO competitively with a mouse from 1997? If you've been using whatever mouse and keyboard came bundled with your PC, then it's really time you moved on. The expert engineers and designers here at Logitech G have developed a range of elite-level kit that can help give you a competitive edge. And in games where the difference between victory and failure is often a matter of milliseconds, you owe it to yourself to upgrade. If you want to get really technical, there's a video you can watch here, but the short version is this. Unless you're using gear designed for the job, other players will have an edge that you don't. The portable 10-keyless Logitech G Pro gaming keyboard, for example, uses Roma G mechanical switches that actuate at 1.5mm, 25% shorter than the competition. Combine that with undiluted signal processing and a 1 millisecond report rate, and you have a keyboard that will give you the edge in the tightest of competitions. And it doesn't end there. Switching to the Logitech G Pro gaming mouse is honestly a game changer. It's as much about flexibility as about best-in-class design, from game-specific button profiles to the incredible accuracy of the PMW 3366 optical sensor. Next up, let's talk about mentality. The more you lose your temper playing games, the more likely it is you'll make mistakes. In esports parlance, this is called being on tilt, and most of us have probably experienced it at some time or another. Things don't always go your way, but you can't let it defeat you. Sometimes when you're playing at your very best, things won't go your way. Channel your inner Shroud and maintain your chill. One of the crucial skills you'll need is the ability to reevaluate why you lost, step away, and start again. Tilt is a term that has its origins in professional poker, and it's a very real problem. Luckily, there are loads of guides and videos out there to explain how to combat it. We've put some useful links in the description below. As well as improving your LoL game, it'll probably stop you losing your temper with other games too. We've covered this in a video before, but legendary Street Fighter player Diego uses meditation to maintain his mood and focus his mind. You can find out more by clicking the link above. The main thing to remember though is that tilt is a perfectly natural reaction and one you can control. Find a method that keeps you focused and stick to it. If it works for you, it's worth doing. We're not suggesting that by following a few tips you'll be able to chuck in that job you hate and go and play Overwatch for a living, and in fact, we need to be really honest here. Every brilliant, life-affirming experience you have on the road to greatness will be matched by ones that make you want to throw in the towel and quit. The life of a professional gamer can be grueling. You won't have time for mucking about, your sleep schedule will get messed up, and sitting in the same position for hours on end might not look that physically demanding, but it can put enormous stress on the body and the mind. Whatever you do, be realistic about the demands on your life and free time that come with wanting to be a pro. Until you're good enough to compete in the top leagues, you'll probably need to keep your day job and don't even think about quitting school. Lemon Nation, for instance, didn't pursue a career in competitive gaming before finishing a master's degree in computer science, and Skadoodle was a framer before winning his major. He even attributes some of his CSGO skills to the mathematical precision needed in his previous job. Now, I realise we're making this sound a bit scary, but if it wasn't hard work, everybody would be doing it. So instead of being intimidated by the fact that it's going to be tough, use that as motivation. Every time you stick it out when someone else quits, you're one step closer to achieving your goal. And you haven't even had to play them. Bonus. So there you have it. 7 things to think about before you channel all that considerable natural talent into a glamorous career playing games. And if you do make it to the top, don't forget who set you on the right path, eh? Let us know in the comments below if you've ever been tempted to go pro and what appeals to you most about the life of an esports athlete. Please like this video if you found any of this useful and subscribe to Logitech G for more weekly shows and features.